All right, YoungLA world, four-time Mr. Olympia Jay Cutler here, and we're here at Fit Club in Las Vegas. We're about to smash some chests, so stay tuned. Come on in.
How often do you come to this one?
Not as much because my office is pretty close to here. And sometimes when I'm super busy and I'll come like sometimes right after work. But this is probably the most popular one because it's literally probably 5-7 minutes from the strip. And this gym opened during the pandemic, which was a little awkward because, you know, gyms opening and the fear of, you know, gathering members and not being able to really sell memberships because they had to stay private for some time. But the truth of the matter is they give me a lot of respect here. That mural right there, I was 25 years old. That's an actual picture on Muscle Beach. I was actually last place at the Mr. Olympia about 3 months after that picture was taken. So it goes to show, you know, me at 25, how developed I was and how competitive the competition was. And the who's who, Ronnie Coleman, was winning his second that year. And within 2 years, I was chasing down Ronnie. 2001 was the first time I placed second, and I was able to secure that position until I finally beat him in 06. But, you know, how far you come in a couple years is amazing, you know, being second to last at the Olympia and then, you know, moving up to second place, you know, jumping a bunch of places to get there. You know, today there's a lot of bro science on how to train. Back in my era, we were only talking about grouping body parts. So the confusion is, okay, how many days a week do I train? I mean, as a bodybuilder, we have to have days off. So normally, you know, everyone says you have to train 5 total days a week out of 7 days. So we try to split up the body parts to train 1 or 2 body parts a day. And I did everything. I did 2 body parts, 1 body part. I would train every other day. I would train 2 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off. Sometimes I train 5 days, take the weekends off. It really depends on what your schedule, like if you worked or if you had other commitments. So what I fell into my routine is I train pretty much every day. I train I train 7 days a week just because I love training that much, and I don't feel like I train hard enough to really necessarily need recovery. Now, I don't always suggest that. I think that you should train, you know, 3 or 4 days in a row, take a day off. But if you're grouping body parts, or if you're training body parts once or twice a week, which I only did body parts once every 5 to 7 days, where Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath, all these guys, they train body parts twice every week. So they did a lot less volume, where I did a ton of volume. So I needed more rest, where they could, you know, recover a lot quicker and do those body parts twice a week. 1 body part a day. Today is going to be chest, and I'm actually going to do chest and calves. So I always do calves on chest day, and normally every other day I do abs, even now, just to keep my core strength, keep the midsection tight. I see too many guys as they age, you know, they develop more distension in the stomach, so I really want to stay in the best shape I can. It's no battle for any stages or whatnot now. It's more just to look better and represent what I do, and that's, you know, fitness and bodybuilding. I never was a train to failure type guy where I would do 1 or 2 reps. Everything was always 8 to 12. So anything you see today is going to follow 8 to 12 repetition pattern. I'll stick to the basics. You'll see me do some free weights, some machines. That varied when I was training at the highest level, where, you know, we didn't have a lot of introduction of a lot of the machinery that you see in the gyms today. I think that ability to get on these specialized equipment pieces has given a tremendous boost to a lot of the training patterns of the people you see on social media, you know, at the top level in the bodybuilding stages, where I come from. And, you know, I was one of the best leg developed. I mean, I'm the king of the quad stomp, right? So, all right, so I'm going to start with the hammer press. Now, if you watch all my old videos, if the gym had a hammer incline, I always used it. Ask me why. I just like to feel like I'm getting warm a little bit without going into heavy free weights. So normally I'll start with some sort of machine such as this or a variation of, and then I'll work over to the dumbbells. So the plan of action, I've already kind of thought about this as I walked in the gym, which I always kind of plan my workouts. That was the unique thing about me, is the day before when I finished a workout or when I was sitting at home, whether it was a day off, I always kind of walk through the workout. So when people say bodybuilding doesn't require some thought process, I always kind of walk through the movements and looked at, okay, what gym am I training at? I like to eye out the gym before and kind of get an idea, okay, I'm going to go from this to this to this. So I'll do a couple warm-up sets, a couple feel sets, and then we'll go right into the heavier movements. What I try to do is about like 3 or 4 working sets for each exercise, and I'll only really warm up on the first exercise. So 2 warm-up sets, keeping the reps at minimum of 12, and then go from there. So constant tension on this. So when I go through the movements now, a lot of people think I need to lock out, which isn't the case. I'm more keeping tension on the chest, trying to keep the triceps out. Now, impossible to keep all certain other body parts not in action when you actually do these movements. So really, when I'm going through this, I'm focusing on squeezing my chest. I could care less about the weight. Obviously, this is pretty light for me. It's my starting weight. So I'll add a plate on, and I'll get into more of the working sets and really get that focus on the contraction. All I care about is the pump. I don't care about how much, I never cared about how much weight I pushed. I mean, obviously it was challenging, but one thing I always tried to walk out of the gym, and that was like, okay, I got the best pump ever. And of course that comes with hydration, the food you eat, recovery, all those things come into play. But even now, downsizing to what I am, I still get crazy pumps when I get in and do body parts. Suggested time between sets, 45 to 60 seconds. So if you're training with a partner, you go, the partner goes, change the weights, keep going.
So we talked about it in the car a little bit, but you and Ronnie's YouTube videos, the two bigger videos of the channel,
Yep.
You watched his. What'd you think of it?
You know, I like seeing Ronnie's personality come out because being super competitive all those years, you can imagine our conversations weren't of any extent when we were at the competitions. We really were the enemies, right? But when we traveled and guest posed almost every weekend together in the off season, we were very friendly. Even today, like we kind of, you know, we communicate and we're able to talk about how fun those times were. But when there's money on the table, it's always going to be a fight for whoever's going to end up on top. And yeah, those battles ended with Ronnie being on top more than anything, but I have a lot of respect for him. And I love to see now his happiness, his family, you know, what brings him joy, because he works so hard to build his whole empire, and the respect factor goes out. Even though he's had some struggles, you know, with his ability to walk and everything else, I always said was the greatest bodybuilder of all time. And it's cool that now the world is getting inside his home, which we only used to do on the DVDs. That's like so out of touch with what it goes on today. People can actually just watch that. They can stream it and see it immediate when it's released. So it's really cool that YoungLA was able to go out and walk into what his element is and be able to showcase like the real Ronnie Coleman personality, not just the guy that you get to meet at an expo or at an event where you can just shake the hand, take a picture. You can kind of get to know who the person is. And I think that's really cool about behind the scenes videos. Listen, we can all get under weights and we can scream and yell, and you know, he has all his taglines with his yeah buddy and lightweight and all that stuff, but Ronnie has so much more personality behind him. And when you get him talking about stories and memories and current things going on in his life, you can kind of see the excitement. You know, his ability to touch people has become tremendous, and he's really active on social media. So it was really good to see that being the number one video on YoungLA World. Now I'm more challenged, you know, I got to get mine up there in views, so make sure you guys go over and check out my my house tour. All right, so I'm pretty warm now. What I'm gonna focus on now is, you know, we start with an incline, so we're trying to hit more of the upper shelf. Now I'll work on more of a flat bench. So we're gonna do some flat dumbbells. Usually I start with a weight there, get the feel of it, and kind of pyramid up a little bit from that. So I'll treat this just like a barbell. So you notice my reps. I'm not gonna come up and touch the dumbbells. I'm not gonna take that tension off the chest. I'm still doing 10 or 12 of these. So I started with 70, so I'm gonna go up to 80s. Back in my era, I would probably start with 100s as a warm-up set. So let's see what I get with 80s. So I'm squeezing every rep. So you notice I come up, and it's about the contraction of the chest.
What would you say, because you say your goal has changed, is it more sustainability now on like your physique? And then how has that changed from like, obviously when you were 23 years old?
I go through a lot of transitions on, you know, kind of what my goal is. You know, I just did Fit for 50 last year, so I wanted to get in my best shape I had been in 10 years. I competed in 2013, was my last Olympia. So exactly 10 years later, I was turning 50. So I said, hey, I want to get in lean shape. I want to be muscular, see what my body looks like, you know, in somewhat of a diet mode and doing cardio twice a day. So I did that, you know, just turning 51. I really, you know, I kind of did like a mini kind of cut towards that, more fullness. But ideally, I just want to look athletic. But I don't want to be overly, I don't want to walk in the room and, wow, that's the biggest guy in the room. I want to look like I definitely work out, which I think I've done that. I want to look like, oh, he's on some sort of a diet where there's maybe some veins showing and like some condition, some cut in the thighs and, you know, cut in the shoulders. You know, it's a race against, you know, age, I guess. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. But I feel amazing. That's the thing I try to tell people is, if you ask me how I felt at 21 versus 51, I honestly think I feel better now because, you know, I'm going in the gym. I train without as crazy as a purpose because at 21 I was striving to be the best bodybuilder in the world, and I was carrying a ton of weight. I was eating a ton of food. I was up and down with the carbs that I ate, meaning, you know, the more carbs you eat, sometimes you get tired. So I think for me, I think the important thing is to feel good and feel like, hey, I'm energized to work out, because a lot of days, I'll be honest, I walked in the gym when I was a professional, when I was training for Olympias, and I didn't even feel like training. It's very rare today because I train when my body tells me to. So if you said, Jay, what time do you train every day? I know people think you have to have this crazy schedule and be on point. I just train around what my schedule is. Today, you know, I'm training a little earlier. Last night I trained at 9:30. I think we talked, and I think I was heading to the gym at that point because it was just a later day. I was at the office all day and just trying to get some work done. So it really varies, and I really like that schedule where it kind of falls into place. I'm very instinctive, just like with body parts. Like sometimes I'll walk in the gym, I'm supposed to do back, and you know what? I look around, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna do arms today, or I'm gonna do shoulders today. I don't really have a set routine. Like I said, I train 7 days a week, most weeks, unless I take days off. I do travel this weekend, so I'm sure I'll take at least one day off, but man, the workout still is the best part of my day, and I feel good doing it, and you know, hopefully it continues that way. And I've luckily stayed injury free, where I don't have any aches and pains. There's no exercise that I can't do, and I still want to push myself and look my best. All right, last set. Little different machine here. So this is a pec deck fly, and everyone uses the handles, they use dumbbells, they use cables. What's unique about this is I'm gonna hug this, okay? And I'm gonna cross my arms like this, and the whole intention is to squeeze the chest. A lot of gyms do not carry this, but if your gym does carry it, make sure you guys try it out. So you notice I'll do reps and I'll cross my hands and I'll alternate as I go back and forth, okay? So this way, still focus on 10 or 12 reps. I don't have this at the gym I usually train at, so. Nice squeeze in there. Takes a lot of the biceps out of it. Like I said, I'm trying to really eliminate everything but the chest from working. Almost impossible to do, but as someone at my level that trained to really go in the gym with one purpose on one body part, we try to find ways and angles and body position to really take and focus and really isolate. I got a good pump going. I mean, that's the goal. So at some point, I don't really necessarily count how many sets I do. I just go, okay, that's enough. And I'm prepared for a recovery. Like I said, it's 7 days a week. It can be a little harder to recover that way.
You look every time leaner and leaner and leaner.
Yeah, that's the goal, man. That's the goal. Thank you. See, you asked me why. There, see, I'm trying to stay lean and mean.
So Ronnie mentioned in the video that his Olympia preps, he would just go to the gym, go home, and then church on Sundays. How does that differentiate from like when you were prepping for the Olympia?
A lot of Olympias, I trained twice a day, did cardio twice a day, so it was 4 times a day. Gym workouts, maximum an hour each workout, so 4 hours a day. There was no world. I mean, I talk about boxy lifestyle. I said I lived in a box, I never came out. Literally for 16 weeks, I'd shut it down, no contact, the phones would go off. I would just train, eat, sleep, pose, recover, therapy sessions. There was no world. So for me, like that's what I feel it took to accomplish what I did, because remember, I would probably say Ronnie's genetics were better than mine. There were guys that I competed against that I beat whose genetics were better, but I think I outworked a lot of people, and I was very dedicated. I didn't go out, wasn't a social person. I ate all my food at home. I prepped every meal, and that's kind of carried over into the business and everything that I do today. And I feel like I'm still not as social as I probably could be, just because I still have pretty strict lifestyle between work and traveling and still my training. I still stay on a really good diet. So, a lot of those combination of things. If you ask any top professional at the Olympia level, they'll tell you that the world gets shut down when you train for competition. And there can't be distractions, there can't be stresses, there can't be, chaos. And that's, what I strive to tell everyone and educate. So anyone listening to this, you do have to sacrifice. To become very great at something or be the best in the world at something, you have to sacrifice a lot. And sometimes, people from the outside might not understand that. But as long as you know what it takes to get to that level that you're shooting for or working towards, doesn't matter what anyone thinks. It's your goal. And it's your ability to get there. Sometimes it's a little lonely at the top, like they say, but the payoff is definitely beneficial. Look and see if they have any pressing machines here. So it's kind of nice, like I said, coming to these clubs, and I forget what they even have some of these pieces. I'm going to do a different variation. So with this machine, you can see the handles. So dumbbells usually like this, barbells, I'm gonna actually press like this actually to give a little bit more outer chest contraction and get that. This is a side press. Chest out. So I had an endorsement contract with this company. It was called Flex Equipment. So back in the early 2000s, into late 90s, this was the brand. And this was based in Marietta. So it was in California. It was all manufactured there. And like Gold's Gym Venice, all the gyms had this brand. And it was super popular, but these are really hard pieces to come by. And I used to use this a lot in my early years. Cybex, this company was based in Boston. I grew up in Boston. So there's a lot of brands that I recognize over the years. And it's really cool if you get a hold of them. This is actually a flex piece too. So this shoulder press is a little different. You're actually kind of laying down and pressing. So a lot of variations that you'll see people trying to replicate those movements in the gym now, utilizing equipment or even doing free weights to kind of position their body. Try to stimulate. Everyone gets bored. I mean, everyone gets bored of the same thing repetitive over and over. And I think that's why, people get into bodybuilding. And I mean bodybuilding meaning anyone that works out with weights. And then they shift over and they end up doing marathons, or they do the swimming, or some people are doing Ironmans now, triathlons, which I think is cool. But we are all competitive, and I think that's what's very unique about the bodybuilding arena is the guys, you're always going to be competitive no matter what, but the problem is bodybuilding isn't sustainable at the professional level for guys. Once you get in your 40s and 50s, it's a lot harder to compete at the highest level. So you need to find new things that are going to challenge you. But I don't get bored. I love the training. Like I said, since I joined the gym at 18, I loved it. And that's why I kept doing it. But if you told me at 18 I would be an Olympian and I'd travel the world and still be doing what I do on social media, I'd say there's no way. To come from a super small place, youngest of 7 kids. Man, I thought I'd be doing concrete the rest of my life. That was our family business. My brothers still do that. And I've been able to bodybuild and now put myself in other areas. And I think it's really cool to, be able to talk about that, because you never know where your future is going to bring you. And I think weight training gave me that outlet. I guess I was introverted a little bit. So when I got in the gym from 8 to 10 at night, that's when I trained when I was in college. The gym closed at 10. I'd be closing the gym every night, in there training, waiting for the last announcement. Okay, we're closing the lights down. Music would go off. I'm still in there like, man, I'm not done yet. 2 hours. 2 hours in the gym. It was never enough. But I had the passion to train. So then I was able to get on stage and be like, okay, the training leads to this. Man, I fell in love with that. And that was the way I could display and push myself even further. And another challenge, not only was I weight training in the gym every day, I was getting on stage and competing against people. And I had a lot of great fortune right out of the gate. I was a teenage champion. And, like I said, I turned pro my first attempt. So I thought I really had something, and then become more recognized as one of the top. It's pretty cool. Never imaginable when you're in grammar school and high school playing football. Everyone wants to be a professional ball player, and I love the weight room. All right, so we're gonna do, this is kind of like a pec deck, okay? So, we do the cable crossovers, we do like a pec deck. This is more of a standing, so this is an Atlantis piece. You can raise up and down depending on your height. And we're gonna come in and we're gonna squeeze. So this is really gonna work that lower portion. Everyone asks me, how do I tighten up the lower portion of the chest? Great exercise for that. So some exercise I pyramid steadily with the weights. Not as much these days, but in my prime, yeah, I would try to go a little heavier every set. Not necessarily where I needed a spot. That's the one thing I stayed away from, because a lot of times I didn't have a training partner. Because of my instinctive type training, I didn't like committing to, hey, we're training at 2 o'clock. So if you were my training partner or wanted to come with me, I would actually be like, hey, I'll call you 30 minutes prior, or an hour prior when I'm eating my meal. That way, by the time I finish the meal, put the dishes away, take a shower. One thing about Jay Cutler, I always shower before the gym. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's one of those superstitious things. I'm not gonna have a good workout if I don't shower. It's the strangest thing ever. Most people shower after the gym. I shower before the gym more than I shower after the gym. I know that's gross, but.
Is it like a showing up to work type of thing?
It's just, I feel clean. And the funny thing is when I started training with Ronnie Coleman in 2008, I said, listen, man, I just want you to understand there's this very strange thing. I can't train unless I take a shower. And he laughed and he said, I'm the same way. So shower before the gym. Jay Cutler rules. But I'm never, one thing about me is like when I do appearances or I commit to things that are important for other people's times, I'm very conscious of that. And if I could suggest anything, that what you could do that would make you better at what you do, be punctual in everything that you do. Because everyone's time is important. If your time is important, someone else's time is important too. Like I mentioned, always on chest day I do calves. I don't know why. I just do it. I think calves, I've tried training them every day, every other day. That's probably the most common question I get in a lot of the other top professional bodybuilders. How do you get your calves bigger? It seems like everyone wants to get bigger calves. So most gyms, standing calf raise, seated calf raise, which is over here. So we're gonna do these two movements. If I was preferred, I would have a donkey calf machine. So basically something on my back. I used to put someone on my back in the middle of a squat rack, and I used to do raises that way. Just over time, I think as you get bigger, as I put on more weight and I was walking around on my calves, I feel like that helped develop a little bit. But your little unique thing I do with my calves, so what I'll do is when I do a motion, I'm gonna pop up and then I'm gonna do a peak contraction. So you notice it's like a double rep. So you'll pay attention to that. It just feels better. I'd love for you guys to try it and see maybe something you can incorporate in your routine. Same thing, 12 repetitions. right, so calf training. So they say the standing calf raise is going to hit the inner portion of the calf, right, where the seated are going to hit more of this portion, right? So we're trying to focus on, trying a combination, which I think the whole calf gets hit, but whether it's the soleus, which is now this outer portion, okay? So we're going to really focus on that. So when your knee's in a bent position like this, it's going to tend to hit more of that outside. Same thing, 12 reps. I love using a flat shoe also for this instead of a running shoe. Just gives you less cushion of the sole to really contract the muscles. That's why you see a lot of people training barefoot now. That's one thing I want to mention is, back in my day, man, you took your shirt off in the gym or you took your shoes off. They'd have management running over. In today's society, I see everyone training with their socks in the gym, man. It's like, I don't know if someone started that trend or what it is, but as long as they're not in their bare feet, I think it's okay.
My pleasure.
So you got Diaz as president.
Yeah. I'll be down here tomorrow.
I'll see you later. All right, so we just finished some chest and calves. Another day in the office. Like I said, still the most crucial part of my day is the workouts, believe it or not. Some people tell me I need to grow up and not get out of the bodybuilding lifestyle, but I still love it. That's kind of my outlet. When I first started training in college, I was under a lot of stress at 18 trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life. Torn between a family business, going to college, venturing out. The gym was really that outlet for me, which I think can be really beneficial for anyone. So that's why I encourage people, the gym time is beneficial. Take advantage of that time, use it as your escape, and use it to your ability so you can kind of take that time for yourself instead of being on your phone. Or, I had this rule where, we weren't allowed any phones in the gym when I was training. Back then we didn't have necessarily iPhones, it was more flip phones and everything else, but phone calls were still forbidden in any time of my routine, because I did use that, like I said, even in the competitive years, as my outlet. And I thought, okay, this is the time where I just need to focus on me, obviously have a goal, and that's what we do. So that's probably it for our day, which I appreciate YoungLA coming out and giving me the opportunity once again to get on camera. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow. If you guys want to comment, if you guys have any experiences that you want to comment about, or look at the training, maybe how we have similarities with all that stuff, make sure you guys comment, and I'll see you guys back on the next episode. YoungLA World, keep crushing it, and 4-time Mr. All, I'm out.